I'm icing the kicker. I think that's something that that I really want to go ahead and address first and foremost. The situation where that came, you really cannot question the decision by FSU to challenge the call. It was close. The forward motion of Mackenzie Milton's arm did show that he was in a throwing motion, but the ball came out of his hand. It was very close to a fumble. But I totally get the decision to go ahead and review that call. Makes that 14 yards and makes that a much more manageable kick for a kicker that, frankly, dated since last year, has been very, very inconsistent. And the biggest thing is he made the kick after the whistle. That's hindsight. And I think any coach in the country will make a decision to move the ball up 14 yards to make the kick an easier kick for his player. And if you look at it also, if you're going to say he iced his kicker by calling a timeout, that's the same thing that Brian Kelly did. He called a timeout before his kicker kicked the ball. So did he ice his kicker? No. It was the player executed the play and made the play happen. So, the first thing I wanted to address is I don't understand the Twitter Norvell decision. I think it was the right decision. I think that 10 times out of 10, any coach is going to go ahead and want that review to move that ball up and make it a more manageable kick. So it's got to be able to make the play. As we heard a lot about in the videos, featuring Bobby Bowden, players make plays. You got to execute. And, Florida State battled back. They got it to that position. You win some, you lose some. You hate to lose in that heartbreaking manner. But nonetheless, they showed a lot of resolve and a lot of fight to get to that point. So, one thing, coming from a Gator, Rashad, we appreciate, it was a really great game. Appreciate y'all rooting for Florida State. Don't know if I can say the same, but I think Florida State really saw an opportunity to come in to Sunday, being the only game, to show that they're coming back. They're working their way back to national prominence, and I think this game shows that the direction and the buy-in and what Norvell and his staff is doing it's there. And now the important thing is, how do they build off of this game? A rough first quarter. We'll start there. Offensively, I was concerned with what I saw. It was rough first quarter. They tried to get the screen game going early on. Notre Dame was bringing a lot of pressure, and Jordan Travis missed a couple of those screens that would have helped alleviate that pressure. And this is something that happened throughout the game. Mackenzie Milton kept coming in later. We'll talk about that. But when Jordan Travis was in, and you saw it start to kind of happen early, I know he's under a lot of pressure, but he was missing open guys early. And the team was not able to move the ball. What really kicked things off, and when Notre Dame, 2 minutes in, drove right down the field and scored, and Florida State was having their struggles offensively, that phenomenal touchdown run by Jashawn Corbin, 89 yards, that got the crowd back into it, because you could feel it. I'm sitting there in the stands. You could feel the fans start to get a little antsy with the struggles that the offense was having. So that run by Corbin was one of the biggest plays of the game. I think it settled Florida State down. It settled the offense down. I think it settled Jordan Travis down. And, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Malik McClain and just the phenomenal job he did blocking downfield, keeping the guys backing off of Jashawn Corbin. And when I was watching that play, I heard Darius Washington's crackdown on the lineman. I heard it, and you could just see the hole open up. And Corbin made a couple moves, and he was off to the races. You can tell his explosion is back, and that was a really nice thing to see with Jashawn. That run was so important because FSU was pinned deep. Notre Dame was playing a little bit of the field position battle, and I think that eased a lot of nerves on that Florida State sideline, and for the fans just listening to what they were saying in the stands. I think it kept them involved. So let's see what we got. Let's answer some questions.
And they are literal cookies and cream cupcakes and they're chocolate. So they come as a
Tally, no, last night made me feel a bit better about that weight gain. I agree. Coming into that weight gain, I'm not really – I haven't been necessarily as worried about Wake Forest as others. I know they're a well-coached team. They've lost some of the playmakers off of last year, and they lost some playmakers in camp. One thing I'm going to talk about at the end is that how are they going to carry over this momentum? Next week is a cupcake in Jacksonville State, but how are they going to carry over this momentum, this drive, and just a much better play? Is that going to continue when they play the next conference foe, next Power 5 team in Wake Forest? That's going to be the true indication of how the season is going to be. Last night will give you kind of for me, as a fan, I speak for myself. It was more of an easy feeling about how the season was going to go. But I need to see the same focus, the same intensity, the same get after it at Wake Forest. I just don't want it to be a one-game deal, national television, hyped up for a big-time opponent. So I do agree that's going to really tell us what's going to happen. Joey Thornton, major growth. I agree. I'm very proud of that team. I'm very, very proud because, I think Florida State fans that are honest with themselves, once they got down 18 going into the fourth, we're done. I even made the comment, I think this game is over because of what we've experienced the last 4 and 5 years of a team that just cannot push through adversity. They get punched in the mouth and they just don't come back from that. And this team just kept fighting and kept fighting and kept fighting. And very quickly they got back into the game. And that was exciting to see. I think that shows the buy-in from the coaching staff. It shows what this team wants to do. They want it. And Florida State really hasn't necessarily wanted it recently. The players have been more apt to be happy that they're at Florida State, but it's a different mentality. You can see that. You can see that from this team, and that was great to see, and that does bode well for the rest of the season.